always have ordered pairs. The x is the first, y is the second. What is this point called? The origin. And that's the point 0, 0. So remember x, this is your x-axis, and your y-axis. So you should be somewhat familiar with that, remembering plotting points. So if I said like -2, -3, what does that mean? Left 2, down 3. All right, lines. Usually there's something involving equations of lines. What does the equation of a line look like? Okay, so with that you need to know a few things. M is your slope. How do you find slope? Rise over run. From points, it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. From a graph, we do the rise over run. So you subtract your y's, subtract your x's. In writing the equation, it might also be helpful, a lot of times you did point slope formula. That one's nice because you can just plug the slope and then point in to get your full equation. The other things, I want to give you just a few formulas. Not that I'm expecting you to memorize a bunch of formulas, but most of these are not given to you on the ACT. You know, sometimes they'll give you a formula in a question. These are usually not. So anything with lines, you have to know. But these are some other questions that they sometimes ask. So midpoint and distance, they are both involving two ordered pairs. By your points, x1, y1, x2, y2. And midpoint is just asking for the middle of something, and your answer is still an ordered pair. If you want to find the middle is an average. So to find the middle of your x's, you add your x's, divide by 2. If you want to find the middle of your y's, you add your y's, divide by 2. Distance. You're trying to find how far apart things are. It's x2 minus x1 squared, y2 minus y1 squared. That whole thing divided by, or the square root of that whole thing.
So why, instead of squaring them and then putting them under a square root, take them back out, why don't we just leave them outside?
Because you have to add them before you do the square root, and so it's no longer the same as each individual one. Kind of like for the same reason that if I say x minus 3 squared, you can't just say that's x squared minus 9, or x squared plus 9. You have to do the whole parenthesis and FOIL it out. That's kind of the same justification for why that square root. You can't just do each one individually. And circles, really most of the time it's just recognizing the equation of a circle. There's not a lot of calculation to it, but a lot of you have never seen it before, so it's easy to miss those questions. The equation of a circle always has an x squared and a y squared in it. When you're looking at this, the center of the circle is that ordered pair HK. The radius of the circle, how far it is from the center out to the edge, is R. So I just want to go through some problems involving these types of things. Does everyone have what they need? Alright, so here's one taken off an ACT test. What is the slope of the line with the equation 5x minus y equals 7x plus 6? If you want to find the slope of the line, what would you have to do? Okay. Get it in y equals mx plus b form. So if I subtract my 5x, then negative y equals 2x plus 6. But it needs to be y equals mx plus b, so how do we get rid of the negative? So y equals negative 2x minus 6. So then you have to recognize slope is which part? M, the number in front of x. So my slope is negative 2. I want you guys to find the slope between these 2 points. Remember, in your ordered pair, this is x of the first, y of the first, x of the second, y of the second. So we wrote down our formula already. My y2 is 4, y1 is 5, x2 is 6, minus x1 is negative 2. So we get negative 1/8. Does everyone remember then how to find slope between 2 points? Worst case scenario, you could draw yourself a graph and count rise over run. If you just got in panic mode and couldn't remember your formula, draw your graph and get it that way as well. Alright, let's look at this one. Point B, order pair 4, 3, is the midpoint of line segment AC. So we're saying we have a segment starting at A and ending at C. B is the middle, and that's order pair 4, 3. Point A has coordinates 0, 1. I want to know what the order pair of C is. There's a couple different ways we can get it.
So, if you read this, isn't the point, the first point they give you is the midpoint,
Mm-hmm.
and the second point they give you is one side, so you're finding,
Yep, the other side, yep. And you could certainly plot these on a grid. I didn't put them to scale or anything. Can you guys tell me one way that I could find point C? Okay. Treat x and y separate for a second. How do I get from 0 to 4 for my x values? You add 4. So to get to this other x value, we would have to add 4 again. So this would be at 8. Think about your y's. How do I get from 1 to 3? So if we do it again, 3 plus 2 is 5. Get that point. So you could just look for the pattern. The other option is to plug them into the midpoint formula. But since you're looking for the other endpoint, this is probably easier.
that would be an easy one to see 2 coordinates at midpoint.
And then do it the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And they will usually try to phrase them to make you more likely to make that mistake too. I want you guys to try this one. So you have 2 options here. If you remember your distance formula, excellent. You're just plugging in your ordered pairs. My x2 is 5, x1 is 2 squared, y2 is 6, y1 is 2 squared. So 5 minus 2 is 3, squared is 9. 6 minus 2 is 4, square root of 16. So the square root of 25 is 5. Now, what happens if you are on the ACT and you don't remember the distance formula? You can still get there if you draw yourself a picture. You have the point 2, 2. We have 5, 6. I want to know how far apart these are. Okay, so I can't just look at this and count, but we could turn it into a triangle. And if there's nothing else you remember about right triangles, you should remember a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if I drew this triangle, how far is it to get from here to here? 1, 2, 3. I think it's 3. My graph is just, my line was crooked. So that's a distance of 3. How far is it from here up? That one's 4, isn't it? So you need to draw yourself a neat graph so you can count. But then we have our two sides, so we could do 3 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared. So 25 equals c squared, and to get rid of a square, c square root. So that's where the distance formula actually comes from. It's the Pythagorean theorem. Very likely that in the middle of the ACT, you might forget the distance formula. But you could plot some points and do Pythagorean theorem pretty easily.
Yeah, it sure would be just 10 minutes doing that and have a graph in 2 minutes, so you just messed it all up.
Miscounted. Okay, let's look at a circle question. So, most of the circle questions on the ACT are going to be like this. Just checking, do you recognize what this formula is? It's always x minus h squared y minus k squared equals r squared. So we have to figure out our h and k. Okay, the formula has the minus in it. So my x value of my center is just 3. Since it should be minus here, what's the y value? Negative 2. So the point is 3, negative 2. So it's one of the last two. 9 is my radius squared, because in the circle formula everything's squared, so the radius is 3. Is that one okay? Didn't I do this one? Yeah, apparently I have that question on there twice. Skip that. Okay, I want you guys to try this one. So remember, this is x in your first, y first, x in the second, y in the second. You have to get the slope so you can plot the points. If you forget the formula, plot the points and count rise over run. Or you can remember y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we get 2 over 6 or 1/3. Then you can take one of your points and either plug into y equals mx plus b to find your b, or do that point slope formula. So y minus the y value equals our slope, x minus the x value, minus -3 make plus 3. So y minus 4 equals 1/3 x plus 1. Add 1/3 x plus 5. Now, is that what this looks like over here? No. They wrote it in standard form. So you have to put it in that form or take these answer choices and change them so they're y equals mx plus 8. So if I wanted to manipulate this one, I can see, okay, I need x and y on the same side. So I could subtract over my 1/3 x. All of these, my x is positive. I know this one's close, but if I want to make my x positive, what would I have to do here? Times by -1. So that gives me 1/3 x minus y equals -5. Is that the same as this one? Nope, so that's out. None of the others have a fraction. How could you get rid of the fraction? Times 3. So that gives us x minus 3y equals -15. And that one's there. Now, this was a little bit time consuming. You had to write your equation and then you had to figure out which one was equivalent. Let's say on ACT you forgot how to write the equation. You couldn't remember. Is there any way we could figure this out without knowing all those formulas? Plug in your points. Pick one of them to start with. Go to your equation, plug it in for the x and y. So that would be -3 plus 3 times 4 equals -15. So -3 plus 12 is not -15. So A is out. Go to option B. Plug this in. So -3 minus 3 times 4 equals -15. So -3 minus 12 is -15. So that works. Is that enough to say it's the equation? It has to work for both ones. So if it doesn't work for one of them, you can throw it out. If it works for one, you would have to plug in the other as well and make sure it also worked. So then 3 minus 18 equals -15, and that one also works. So B is my correct answer. Okay, so if it's been a while since you've done that stuff, use your resources. It doesn't take that long. You've got a calculator. Plug in those numbers and find it working backwards from your answers. I want to do just a few inequality questions and then we'll be done for today. If I ask you to solve this inequality, it's like solving an equation. You have to get x by itself, so what would you do first? If you do it from the middle, you do it on both ends. So we get -1 is less than or equal to -x/4 is less than or equal to 1. Then what would we do to just get x in the middle? Yeah, let's go ahead and do -4. If you multiply by a negative, what happens to your inequalities? Okay, so we need x to be between -4 and +4. Which one is the same as this? C. It flipped the negative and +4, but the inequalities as well. So those are equivalent. I'm going to go to this question, and that'll be where I stop. I'll do the other slide tomorrow. Okay, I apologize, this is a little blurry. -5x minus 7 is less than x plus 5. If you want to solve this, what would you do? Subtract over the x, add over the 7. Divide by -6. If you divide by a negative, the inequality would flip, so greater than -2. It doesn't have an equal to, which means it can't include that point, so it has to be an open circle, so option D is out. Bigger than -2, that means starting at -2 and going to the right, so that would be